Hey everybody, Brennan here. Sorry, my shirt's like in really gross shape right now. I'm like halfway through ripping it, a new one, literally. Anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about trans emotionality, um, specifically my experiences with my emotions and just like my internal self as I'm changing biochemically. Um, I've always been a really emotional person, like cry at everything. That was something I was really worried about losing with testosterone. I was really worried that, because my emotionality is like a huge part of who I am, and I was afraid that if T were to change that, it would change me at like a very, very like central point of who I consider myself to be. But luckily that has not been the case at all. Uh, Thank you. Can I have that? Can I have it? Okay. Um, yeah, yeah, I was worried that that would change with testosterone, but it's absolutely not been the case. And I think that there's a lot of conversations and different articles that go around about just like where gender differences, like where they are, like is it in emotions, is it biochemistry, like what sort of things go into what makes up a man and what makes up a woman. And I think that transgender people are the only people who can answer these questions because we do live life socially as both and experience the biochemistry of both. So we're the authorities when it comes to these kind of things, I think. Am I never humble? Uh, Yeah, one thing I've really noticed is that my emotions tend to manifest differently. Like I feel them at different places, like closer in my head, and there's always sort of like an uneasiness in my stomach previous to now, and now it's more like in the front of my head, like up at my temples, is where I feel emotions more strongly. Also, I have depression, and my depression's been manifesting more strongly as anxiety, which is totally new for me. I've more dealt with like the depression side of depression. And I'm just kind of new to like the severe anxiety symptoms I've been having since I went on T, which I'm sure will even out. My meds might not be responding. I'm having like a lot of other factors that go into that. I wasn't being upfront with my therapist, and I was drinking a lot when I first got prescribed my medication, so they might not ever have even worked in the first place. So yeah, there's definitely a lot going on there that I could do some work to replicate. Um, Yeah, my nerves are just tighter in general, which is familiar to me from my first puberty, just like being really easily annoyed by everything, really grumpy, just really hair triggered by stuff. So that's definitely not new, but also new, a little annoying to go through again. Um, As far as like anger issues go, that's something I hear a lot from trans men, and the anger issues. It's a fear that a lot of trans men have, and it was one that I had initially, because I've always had quite the temper. I have a hot temper. I have a quick temper, and it's ugly, and I was definitely concerned about exacerbating that. But my anger levels in general have gone down quite a bit since I quit drinking. I'm just not putting a bunch of depressive chemicals in my body every day. So that just does a world of good if anyone considering quitting drinking, do it. But yeah, so the anger isn't new. It's a little bit familiar. The little spike in anger I've noticed just makes me feel like I'm drinking again. So it's just like kind of just need to keep tighter check on it, which isn't that. It's really not that worth mentioning. The only time I did notice a severe difference in how my anger manifests was, this is under really special circumstances. Ooh, you need your nails clipped, bub. Yeah, you do. I was in Maryland and I got attacked and I retaliated and I punched the person and I've never felt like this. Like, at first, I've never been able to follow through on a punch to the point that I did. I was really mad. And I just couldn't let go. It was like I was a fucking bull. Like I felt like a pit bull. Like I just like I could not let it go, and I was so angry for so long, and it like to get myself down from just that raging bull phase where I wanted to kill the guy, like I really did, and it's just like it took everything in me to go outside and light a cigarette. Like I've never had to use that much like talking myself down from from 10 to 0. Like it was like talking myself down from 60 to 0. It was insane. But thankfully that hasn't really been like an experience that's been repeated as of yet. So I'm just not in situations anymore where I would be violently angry, so that's getting a lot better. And I think that really is the key, is to kind of remove things in my life that were making me angry. So, yeah. I definitely, like I said, having experienced the social life as being read as both genders and interacted with as both genders, and also having had the biochemistry in one lifetime of both and being able to compare them from firsthand experience, I definitely think that the key to the emotional, the differences in male and female emotionality is largely due to socialized gender bias. I think women aren't taken seriously, or their concerns aren't taken seriously. Like I remember when I was living as a girl, like trying to, talk about issues like street harassment or things like that, or things that do affect my daily life, and people just not listening. And not listening when I say I'm upset. And that's a huge trend of the way people treat women around emotionality is like, whatever you're experiencing isn't real, you're just being crazy, you're just being hysterical. And like, when you're continuously not having your emotions being validated in that way, it's gonna exacerbate the emotionality. It's gonna make you be more insecure. It's gonna make you like really have no gauge of what you're supposed to be upset about. If you're supposed to be upset about, should you? It's just like, it's really confusing. But like when men are upset, it tends to be like a justified anger or justified feeling. And there isn't this like constantly having to question your own emotions that I think is definitely forced on women because of female gender conditioning. Like when you're raised female, you're taught to question like everything that you feel because it might not be right. Like, and it's hard. Like it's really hard just being raised with like kind of constant inadequacy of like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Like if you're not emoting enough, you're not like a girl enough. If you're emoting too much, you're crazy and hysterical, and it's just, and there's so many examples of that. There's so many examples of the ways in which women have to toe very fine lines in order to be perceived as like stable, or like intelligent, or legitimately interested in something you were legitimately interested in. Like it just, I would, as much as I go through being a trans man, I would not trade the stares and the things that people say to me and et cetera, for being under the constant microscope that I was when I was living as a female. I think it's really rough. Like, I don't know, there's a lot to be said there. Women talk about it all the time. I think it's really sad that people tend to take me more seriously about these things than they would take a woman. I think that's really sad, but I've also run into that. Like, I'm the voice that changes someone's mind on something. And maybe that's because, like, I'm able to relate to men better. And then they're like, oh, like, you're like me, but you also went through this. Maybe this girl is right about that. And it is sad, but, like, that's how it is. Like, I mean, that's what Malcolm X said. It was to what what white people can do for black people is like talk to white people, like, because a white person's gonna listen to another white person before they listen to a black person. It's just insider bias, and it's sad, but it's human, and sadly human. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. I just see so many women in my life who struggle so much with not having a very secure sense of self because they get told that whoever they are is like flawed in whatever way. Like, oh, you're interested in photography. Oh, you're a stupid hipster. Like, you're not really interested in that. Like, you're just interested in it because it's in. Or like, oh, you like punk. Like, you're not really into it. You're just into it because your boyfriend's into it. And just like women are constantly attacked by those things, and it leaves you with not really feeling secure. So then you're not feeling secure about yourself, about your reaction to things, about your anger about things, about your emotions. You're just not sure if any of them are right or correct. And it's like, who cares? Like, you're feeling them. If you're feeling them, they're there, and it's worth mentioning, and it's worth validating. Yeah, so I hope that like sheds some light, like, from an emotional person about kind of what I'm learning about male and female emotionality, and the roots of those things. And I in a lot of ways I'm always going to relate more to women about their emotional reality, and like, maybe not emotional, yeah, like, I guess there's just the emotional reality that I ever would towards with like a cis man, because I wasn't raised male. Like, I wasn't raised with the idea that my emotions were wrong and to not be exhibited, to not be felt, that somehow spoke to my worth as my gender. That was something I never got. Those are messages I was lucky to never have. So I do think I will always relate better to how women are feeling emotionally and how women process emotions, because I was raised female, and that was my first like coming of age or whatever, was in that space, and I understand it. I was never told to not be emotional. I mean, I was in a lot of ways, but not to the same extent a guy is. And for that reason, I am more comfortable being emotional and like being an emotional man. Like, that's something that comes naturally to me because it's who I am. But I think it takes a cis man who has the capacity to be an emotional man a lot more work and unlearning of these gender expectations, and that have hurt him and like made him not be able to be who he is. And I don't know, I just really hope, and this is like what I always come back to when I think about, why am I trans? Like, why? Because I do like to answer the why sometimes. I think a big reason is to start to bridge that gap. I think trans people, we're very valuable in that we can actually answer these questions in ways that a cis scientist, no matter how much research they do, they're still biased, and they're still talking about it from, only having experienced like a very one-sided experience of gender, one that's already been talked about for millennia. So I really think now's the time for trans people to take the reins in talking about gender differences, and in talking about what is gender really, what is physical sex, what is biochemistry, what is socialized, like, how do all these things come into one? Because like I've said on my videos before, I really do think that everything that happens to you is personal choice, it's inherency, and it's your environment. And like, through looking at all those things and like taking into account like biology and like what transsexuals are going through biochemically, I just really think trans people should be treated like authorities on these issues, instead of being made to feel like our experiences of gender don't matter, because they do. And what I've experienced about gender might teach someone else something a lot about their own that they've never seen before. So yeah, just keep respecting trans people's perspectives, because we are people and we have something valuable to offer. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Hopefully stepping up my videos a little bit more. I've been slacking. But yeah, I'm Brennan, and it is September 11th, 2014, and I will catch y'all later.